Hey there, scary people, and welcome back to the One Scary Woman YouTube channel, where after about a month-long hiatus with some traveling, lots of stuff going on, we are diving back into the making of a feature film over the course of this year. So what we're really going to be focusing on for the next however many videos is the money side of things. So to kick things off, we got another Scariest Things About video. This time, scariest things about money. And oh my goodness, with these videos, we always pick 3, but of course, when it comes to money, probably people could come up with a lot more than 3 things that worry them about money, about the financial side of it. So we are going to look specifically in this video at the scariest things about money when it comes to actually raising money for a feature film. So whether you're using your own money or someone else's money, either one of these scenarios can definitely bring up a whole lot of stress for somebody. So let's go ahead and dive right into these. So number 1, scariest thing about money when you are making a film, I'm going to say, is that it makes it real. So on this certain level, so of course, like I said, there can be lots of scary things about the money piece, but it does actually make it real when real money comes into play. So whether it's your own or you have raised money from somebody else, actually now having money in play, you start to spend money, you start to put money into a fund, knowing, a savings account, knowing that that is going to be used for the film, or you're actually now in receipt of money from somebody else. This is now real in a different way. So you've been maybe working on it, you've had your script, you've been visioning it, planning it, but now that this has happened, this is like, okay, you finally have an agreement, even if it's just with yourself, but an agreement that now this is actually happening because you're investing in a different way. So maybe up until this point, you've invested time. Now you're investing money. So the way you're investing yourself is changing. And again, even if it's someone else's money, it's changing. It's kicking things up a notch. Now, just remind yourself that even if this can be a little freaky, to know that things are getting real, you in your heart of hearts want them to be real. So your goal has been to get this money made. Of course, you're going to need some amount of money to do that, even if you're doing some very low budget production. So take a deep breath and remind yourself this is part of the vision that you had for yourself. This is part of what you wanted moving forward. So feel empowered by that. Now, the second scariest thing about this money piece for filmmaking is that, of course, this now puts a lot of responsibility on you. So again, whether it's your money or someone else's money, there's now a certain amount of responsibility that you want to actually make this back. You don't want to have done something foolish. So, if you've spent some of your own money, and hopefully you haven't spent your whole savings, I definitely advise people just spend what you're comfortable with. Don't mortgage your house, don't do anything crazy, but whatever amount you've spent, now there is this feeling like, okay, is this actually going to be worth it? It's a responsibility to yourself to make it pay back. If you are borrowing money from someone else, if you've raised money from an investor, even if you've done crowdfunding or who knows, there's this other sense of responsibility, especially with an investor that maybe you have to pay back, a sense of responsibility to them, that they trusted you, believed in you, gave this to you. You want them to see that things are successful. So in that case, all I can say is, of course, it's not guaranteed that a film is going to be successful. So this is a really, really risky industry. So you always want to be on the up and up. So make sure that even when you're raising money from investors, that you're upfront about that. So anybody who invests in movies, they shouldn't be investing just because they want to see a return. Of course, they're probably hoping for a return, but they're also investing because, of all the things they could invest in the world, why would they want to invest in a film? Because they want to be part of the creation of something like that, of some sort of artistic endeavor, of a story that maybe could reach people, something that can affect, people on a cultural level, whatever the case may be. So you have to be upfront from the beginning. This is a risky venture, so they need other things that they're going to get out of doing this emotionally, even if that money doesn't come back. Now, that is not necessarily the easiest conversation to have, especially when you're trying to convince somebody to invest, but it is one that's really, really important. And down the line, it's more important to find the right investors, meaning the people who are going to really understand this about that particular industry, but still feel like they got something out of it, even if the movie doesn't, make millions of dollars, feel that they got something out of it just by being part of supporting this artistic vision. Of course, you're also going to have a responsibility to then do all you can to try and make that investor back their money. Your responsibility to do your absolute best, leave no stone unturned in terms of making this film the best you possibly can, getting it out into the world, and making the best deals you possibly can so that you can see some sort of return. All right, now the final thing I'm going to talk about, scariest thing about money. And of course, I know that there could be many, many other things that people could put in, so feel free to put down in the chat your thoughts about scariest things about money. But for number 3, I am just going to say your own ideas about it. So everybody has lots of, preconceived notions, limiting beliefs, hang-ups when it comes to money. And, it's simply just that our whole life long we've been programmed to think about it in a certain way. So the most common example is, growing up and you hear your parents say, well, money doesn't grow on trees. There's can be a lot of stressful feelings that get brought up when it comes to money, even if you had money growing up. Maybe there's a lot of stressful feelings that you don't waste it on something like this, or, that you have to be more frugal, more careful, who knows, whatever the case may be, you probably have certain ideas about money. So I encourage you to actually take a moment. So this is getting a little bit more into the mindset side of things, but sit with yourself a little bit and journal and think about, what are your preconceived notions about money? What are your limiting beliefs? What are your fears that come up when it comes to money? So try to address that. You want to clear your head and put them into perspective. Again, never invest more than you can afford to invest. Never misrepresent yourself to an investor. You don't want to add that extra stress. Just make sure you're clearing your head, you're doing things the best that you can with good intentions, and remind yourself, okay, if you put in a certain amount, and again, only put in the amount that you could be comfortable with. Don't put your whole life savings, don't mortgage your house. Say if you put in a certain amount, and say if you don't make that back. Maybe you're making it back in terms of having the experience. Maybe making this film leads to something else. But just remind yourself that money is something that can replenish itself. So things like time in our life can't replenish it themselves. So, you wanting to do this, having this dream or this goal to do this, not doing it is something that you can't undo. You can't get back the chance to go back, when we're years down the line in the future and then make that film. However, any money you put in can replenish itself. So again, don't ever put yourself, in the poorhouse paying for things that you can't, that you really can't afford, that are just beyond where you are. But up to a certain amount, if that is the route you're going with, if you are funding this yourself, make sure that you're comfortable with where you are and remind yourself you're going to be getting, a reward in a different way by completing the film, and the money will replenish. All right. Just don't make this, something that becomes a huge block in your head. Don't make it something that is bigger than you, that you see it as a problem that's bigger than you. Just work within your means, and of course, again, be upfront with your investors. So it's really not as scary as people initially feel if you take these steps. And again, you're always on the up and up, and you're always well-intentioned. Now, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to continue on this filmmaking journey, and be sure to put down in the chat what came to your mind when you think about the scariest things about money. See you next time.